PVE and PvP are two separate game modes within Escape from Tarkov, obviously. However, there's been something that's been kind of annoying me over the past year or so since the release of PvE mode, particularly if you do play PvE mostly, and that is the fact that the two modes seem to get differences in what actually gets changed when updates go live with regards to events, whether that be they are only PvP events and there are no like PvE only events, etc. like that. And whilst I'm not saying that, you know, PvE needs its own specific event compared to PvP, I'm just saying that why are some events, some updates, some of the content not being available for both modes when it simply wouldn't really affect PvE? Like, why not release both of the content at the same time? So we have had events which were only PvP related and not available in PvE. We've also had things like, for example, the events that you can complete, whether that be through the task chains, etc, 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 where you get rewards and stuff like that for PvE as well. And then obviously we've also had the whole prestige system added into PvP, and since the release of that into PvP, it's been pretty well received. However, we didn't get it received into PvE, and Nikita says he's not going to do it. And whilst I have literally no idea why that would be, I literally can't even fathom it, because even from a standpoint of the game economy and everything regarding that and everything that's related to that, it would just be better. Like, it would wipe off a lot of the money, it would give people a new reason to start playing the game again after they get maybe a little bit bored of playing PvE. And of course, you can still jump over to PvP, but maybe you just want to, you know, go and play the game again and reset and have some maybe prestige, or like, and maybe you play with friends on PvE, for example, and you want to race them to get to the maximum prestige possible. I just don't see a reason why you wouldn't implement that into the game. Obviously, the hideout, you can still see that there are like prestige systems within the PvE game mode, which is yet again another reason why I just don't see why they haven't activated the ability to do that. And that is just a big fat L from me. And then you come into the events where they're PvP only, or simply, you know, having maybe the boss rotations, people saying that it's only on PvP. Now, I haven't extensively tested this myself, but it seems like it is only a PvP game mode event. I've just come back from holiday, so catching up on all of the latest news that has come out. But this was something I wanted to do before I went on holiday, talking about the differences between PvE and PvP and why there seems to be such a, not a hatred towards the PvE, but more so like as if they were kind of forced into doing it and something that they never wanted to do, and yet they just don't quite deliver stuff to the PvE game mode that would be beneficial to the actual lifespan of the game mode itself, as well as, you know, to the player base, which is quite vast as to who actually plays PvE on Escape from Tarkov, especially consistently after the wipe has kind of, the hype of the wipe has kind of died down in that midsection where people want to jump on to PvE and just do the whole thing again, where it's much more casual. You can listen to music if you want to. Obviously, it's not optimal, but you can do that if you really wanted to. You know, a much more casual experience. You can do the whole thing again. You can try things that you wouldn't be able to try on PvP as consistently. You know, you can learn how to do the bosses much easier on PvE because of the fact there's no other players that can get there first, and you don't have to worry about spawns and stuff like that. And so it just gives a reason to kind of play PvE even more when you do come into that. And of course, you can even reset your account with the whole prestige system that I think would be really, really good. So for me personally, I have no reason, I can see no reason other than the fact that they simply just don't want people to play PvE for as long, so that they play PvP for the matchmaking. Maybe perhaps maybe that's what they're kind of hoping for, that people on PvE will swap back to PvP to increase matchmaking. efficiency so that people can get into raids quicker during those times where the wipe is not so hyped up, and having the PvP only events where they can essentially kind of force people if they're getting bored or the game is kind of stagnant at that point, there's nothing really going on, maybe like mid to mid-late wipe, where they introduce like a PvP event only to get people to jump back into PvP when they start seeing the server population start quieting down after that hype. Maybe that's the reason why they're not doing it, and it's not actually game related. But from my standpoint, I mean, the whole prestige system, there's no reason why you wouldn't do that. And certainly the events, in my opinion, are something that it just makes no sense. Like, you shouldn't have to feel like you're forced into playing one of the game modes. Similarly, if you're a hardcore PvP player, that's what you love about Escape from Tarkov, which, you know, I've played a ton of PvP. I absolutely love the game mode. I find it fun, it's engaging, etc. But obviously I make YouTube videos on PvE, so, you know, hence why I have to play a lot of PvE. It's one of those things that I would like to see. Just, you know, people get annoyed, essentially, if it was a PvE only event and you couldn't do it on PvP. So why the other way around? Why is that okay? Why is that acceptable? Like, yeah, it's like if you were on the other shoe, why would that be fine? So implementing just events that are just across the board, I think that is the best way. Of course, maybe there's some nuances to it whereby it's supposed to be specifically catered entirely to PvP, but a lot of the events that have only been PvP orientated are not like tailored as specifically to like PvP engagements. They're just, you know, events that could have been in PvE as well. Like, it's not like they're specifically tailored to those. But it's something that I want to mention. I wanted to voice my opinion. I've seen a ton of comments, which is another reason why I wanted to do this video as well. And just generally, I think it's just not good for the health of PvE. So I think I've got to voice my opinion. You guys have said it, and that's something I wanted to make this video about. But that being said, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you do want to see some more PvE content, and of course, if you want to see me live streaming a new series that we are going to be doing, and we'll be making it into kind of targeted things where they're both informational and also just fun at the same time. We'll be doing live streams on a hardcore type challenge game on PvE where we try and run through as fast as possible with a load of different challenges along the way that I am mapping out at the moment to go through. So stay tuned for that. Of course, like, subscribe, and you can check out the Twitch links in the description down below if you want to follow me on there for when we do start streaming consistently throughout the number of days. I don't know how many days I'm going to dedicate, but there you go. Either way, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.